Manglaba, Namaskar. First of all, thank you Chakma for this opportunity to join in the campaign to fight COVID-19. I would like to address one of the alarming situations that has been unfolding in our country during COVID-19 pandemic, suppression of freedom of expression. We have seen journalists, doctors, health professionals, teachers, activists, even ordinary citizens being vilified and harassed in many ways for reporting or expressing their opinions over the past 3 months. Institutional actions have been taken against doctors and health professionals who have pointed out the severe lack of safety equipments for frontline medical professionals and lack of medical equipment and facilities to treat corona patients. Directives were also circulated ordering health professionals to refrain from providing any information or any opinion in any public platform. Similar directives were circulated in some universities, curbing freedom of expression of university teachers. The journalists and independent watchdogs have faced the burn the most for publishing news and reports on the sorry state of our health sector, widespread corruption and misappropriation of relief items by local government representatives, and for demanding accountability of the government in all this matter. Reports of journalists being attacked, physically assaulted, harassed and threatened by corroborators of corrupt representatives and officials were published also in different media. Cases were filed against around 50 journalists, and they have been charged or arrested under controversial Digital Security Act. Activists who were critical of the government's way of handling pandemic were also charged under this draconian law. This Digital Security Act, given that there are many terms that are not specifically defined, like undermining the image of nation and national personalities, leaves room for exploitation by anyone with a motive to retribution. It has been and still is being used to suppress criticism of government's pandemic response actions. It has to be expressed that criticizing any act of the government or any government official or any representative cannot be deemed as a seditious act in a modern democratic state. However, unfortunately, this has not been the case in Bangladesh. While it is true that misinformation or disinformation during a health emergency can put more people's lives at risk, curbing freedom of expression in the name of suppressing rumors is not at all acceptable from a democratic government. We need to ask this question: has merit of the complaints in terms of determining the proportion or the gravity of the actions been taken into account? Or the only aspect that has been taken into account is that those who have filed complaints are simply aggrieved by the opinions or remarks or reports published in a public forum. And for most of these cases, we have seen that those who have filed complaints are in some way or the other affiliated with the ruling party. We have seen before COVID-19 situation how this draconian law has been used to suppress political opponents, suppress criticisms and dissent, which has severely compromised our country's commitment to promote and protect people's right to freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And it still prevails during this pandemic. It is especially critical in this pandemic situation because we need to have free information flow to tackle this pandemic. We not only need facts on COVID-19 health crisis situation, we also need information on how government is responding to this situation. What is working, what is not, why it is not working, what needs to be done to mend response efforts and strategies, and also who need to take responsibility of what. Only then as a nation we can tackle this pandemic effectively and can minimize deaths and damages. And for that, the government should ensure freedom of press and freedom of expression of its citizens. During this unprecedented crisis in our country, we have also seen great partnership between government administrations, NGOs, civil society organizations, especially in providing and distributing emergency relief support and supplying medical and safety equipment. Needless to say, those initial reports on newspapers, news portals and social media posts on severe shortage of food and medical and safety equipment and stories of great sufferings of people were the source of information that led civil society to jump into action and to work alongside government and to work with government. And so far it has been fruitful. Government can take note of this and can better tackle this pandemic by continuing government-civil partnership. But it cannot be done by intimidating or inflicting fear on concerned citizens, especially not by violating rights of its own citizens. On that note, I hope that our Honourable Prime Minister will consider repealing Digital Security Act to ensure freedom of speech, freedom of expression of its citizens, and will make efforts to ensure freedom of press and to protect journalists and activists from assaults and harassments. In the meanwhile, all the charges brought up against all those journalists, activists, free thinkers and ordinary citizens under this controversial Digital Security Act should be dropped immediately and unconditionally. If we are to defeat this crisis or any other crisis in the future, citizens' rights need to be protected and given priority over anything and everything. Repealing Digital Security Act can be the next first step towards that goal.